Jack, I've got some important news. The head of the CIA has finally given us the green light for the Virtuous Mission.
Virtual Mission?
No, the Virtuous Mission. The future of our Fox unit depends on it. If it succeeds, we'll be officially organized into a unit.
Virtuous Mission? Sounds like some kind of initiation ritual.
You know, don't get cocky. This isn't a training op.
Right. So what exactly is this wonderful mission?
Well, about 2 years ago, a certain Soviet scientist requested asylum in the West through one of our moles. His name is Nikolai Stepanovich Sokolov. He's head of the OKB 754 Design Bureau, one of the Soviets' top-secret weapon research facilities, and the East's foremost expert on weapons development.
Sokolov? Isn't he that famous rocket scientist?
The very same. On April the 12th, 1961, the Soviets achieved the first manned spaceflight in history.
The Earth was blue, but there was no God.
Well spoken. The rocket that carried Yuri Gagarin into orbit was the A-1, known as the Vostok rocket. Sokolov is said to be the man most responsible for the multi-engine cluster used in that rocket. After Gagarin's flight, Sokolov left rocket development to become the head of the newly established Design Bureau.
From a lowly technician to head of a design bureau, that's quite a success story, so why'd he want to defect?
It seems he'd become afraid of his own creations.
Afraid?
Call it a crisis of conscience.
And for that, he left his country and his family behind and went over the fence?
Not exactly. One of his conditions was that his family was also to be taken safely to the West. We used a mole to get the family out first and succeeded in sneaking Sokolov over the Berlin Wall shortly afterwards. I was the one who conducted the operation.
The security on the eastern side was still full of holes back then. Then what?
We got Sokolov over in one piece, but the whole ordeal had left him exhausted, and we checked him into a hospital in West Berlin. It took him 2 weeks and more than 600 miles to get from the research facility in the Soviet Union to Berlin. He was in no condition to say anything coherent. And it was only a week later that we had something much bigger on our hands.
The Cuban Missile Crisis.
October the 16th, 1962, President Kennedy received word that the Soviets were in the process of deploying intermediate-range ballistic missiles in Cuba. The President demanded that the Soviets dismantle and remove the missiles. At the same time, he announced a naval blockade to prevent further missile shipments from reaching Cuba. But the Soviets didn't back down, instead placing their armed forces on secondary alert. Soviet transport ships carrying missiles continued on course towards Cuba. US and Soviet forces went on alert for an all-out nuclear war. Frantic negotiations were conducted through the UN's Emergency Security Council and unofficial channels to end the hair-trigger standoff. Finally, on October the 28th, the Soviet Union agreed to remove its missiles from Cuba, and so the world avoided a nuclear holocaust. But in order to get the Soviets to pull their missiles out, we had to make a deal.
You mean the one where the US agreed to remove its IRBMs from Turkey?
No. The Jupiter IRBMs deployed in Turkey were obsolete, and we were going to get rid of them anyway. They had no strategic value whatsoever to either the US or the Russians. The Turkey deal was a ruse, a cover story that was fed to the other intelligence agencies around the world.
So what did the Russians really want?
Sokolov. They wanted us to return Sokolov.
You mean the Soviets pulled out of Cuba just to get their hands on Sokolov?
That's right.
What the hell was he working on?
At the time, we had no idea. We were running out of time. It was either give up Sokolov or risk full-scale nuclear war. In the end, we had no choice. President Kennedy gave in to Khrushchev's demand. The next day, I got Sokolov out of the hospital, handing him over to agents on the eastern side. Sokolov kept on screaming, "Save me," until he disappeared from my sight. Then a month ago, we received some new information from one of our moles.
About Sokolov?
Yes. He was taken back to the research facility and forced to continue working on the weapon in question under KGB supervision. What's more, it's on the verge of completion.
So what kind of weapon is it? Something to do with space rockets?
No, missiles.
Same technology.
I guess you're right. We don't know the details, but it appears to be a new kind of nuclear device. For half a year now, the Soviets have been conducting frequent nuclear tests at Semipalatinsk.
Something to do with the weapon, I assume.
We're talking about a secret weapon so big that Khrushchev was ready to pull out of Cuba to get it back.
Is Sokolov still in the facility?
No, according to our intelligence, he's in Selino Yask, a place in the mountains about 3 miles to the west that's known as the Virgin Cliffs.
The Virgin Cliffs. Nice name for a virtuous mission.
They moved him there just recently.
Why?
Apparently, they're conducting a field test of the weapon, but it's our best chance to get him back. This mission would never have been possible if he was still in the research facility. This is our last chance. Sokolov must have known that too when he contacted us. So how does it feel to be a patient in one of the most advanced ICUs in the world?
Would you do me a favor and tell the suits about visiting hours? I'll never get better with them assaulting me day and night with their questions.
Must be part of the top brass's inquiry.
More like an interrogation. According to them, I'm a traitor and an accomplice to the boss's defection.
They're just looking for a scapegoat.
Does that mean they're after you, too?
Let's just say neither one of us is going to be made a national hero out of this.
Does this mean Fox is going to die?
No. This fox is still one step ahead of the hounds. The reason I came to see you today, Jack, it's time for Fox to clear its name.
What are you talking about?
The situation has changed. We've still got a chance to come out of this one alive.
Yeah, what kind of chance?
Don't get too excited. Here, have a cigar. It's Cuban. This morning, I had a meeting with the CIA.
They decided when they're going to execute us?
No. Something even bigger. Yesterday, the White House received an unexpected call.
President Johnson?
Yes, I hear you, Mr. Chairman.
It was a hotline call from Khrushchev to President Johnson.
From the head of the Soviet Union?
That's right.
A few days ago, one of our country's main design bureaus, OKB 754, was destroyed in a nuclear explosion. At about the same time, our anti-aircraft radar picked up a signature that appeared to come from one of your military aircraft. Does any of this sound familiar to you? In retaliation, I have placed our armed forces on secondary alert. Depending on your response, I may be left with no choice but to order the military to maximum alert and unleash Armageddon. With the help of your predecessor, I was able to survive the Cuban incident. But my power is not as great as it once was. If I am to survive this crisis, I must have your full cooperation.
I should have contacted you myself. Did you know that one of our soldiers defected to your country a week ago?
No.
So you haven't heard then. The man who arranged the defection was a GRU colonel by the name of Yevgeny Borosovich Volgin.
Volgin, of the Brezhnev faction. Go on. Who is the soldier?
Her name is the Boss. She's a living legend. During World War II, she was the one who led us to victory in that war. In Russia, you know her as Voyevoda.
You mean the Boss? The mother of your special forces?
Yes, that's the one. And she took 2 miniature nuclear shells along with her.
The Boss took 2 miniature nuclear shells.
I'm afraid so. I believe they were a gift for her new hosts. The Davy Crockett Atomic Battle Group delivery system was completed 2 years ago. Serious problems were found with the launcher's range and precision. Although they were mass-produced, they've never been deployed in battle.
But Sokolov's research facility was completely wiped out. The whole area is polluted.
I can only offer you my deepest condolences over this terrible tragedy.
So, the boss, with Colonel Volgin's help, stole 2 experimental nuclear shells and took them with her as gift when she defected. Then, shortly thereafter, Sokolov's design lab, a top-secret military research facility, was destroyed by one of these weapons. Am I right so far?
Yes, that's correct.
And the American government denies any involvement in the affair. Is that right as well?
That's correct. We were not involved in any way.
Then what was a U.S. military aircraft doing on our radar screen? It was clearly in violation of our airspace. And yet you say it was not acting under your orders.
That's correct.
You expect me to believe that this was all the work of a single soldier?
I don't know what else to tell you.
The Army insists that this is all a ploy on your part.
I've said it once, and I'll say it again. Our government had nothing to do with it.
And I would like dearly to believe you. However, I'm afraid my power over the military has weakened since the Cuban incident. I will need some kind of proof that this was not the action of the American government. You have 1 week. You must catch the boss yourselves and recover the remaining nuclear device. Then, you must find some way to prove your innocence.
Prove our innocence.
Yes, preferably something painful. Prove to me that this is not merely another one of your tricks.
The boss should be close to Colonel Volgin. How about a little co-action?
I would not expect too much if I were you. The political situation here is unstable. And Colonel Volgin is a member of the Brezhnev faction, which seeks to topple my government. 1 week. You have only 1 week, and if it is not too much to ask, do something about Volgin as well.
What is that supposed to mean?
Nothing. It means nothing. Call it a modest gentleman's agreement to ensure our continued relationship.
What if we can't prove our innocence?
Then I will be unable to restrain the military. I will be ousted, and they will seek their revenge.
A nuclear attack on the United States?
I leave the disposal of this situation entirely to your discretion, Mr. President.
Disposal,
If you fail, it will mean the beginning of a new world war.
To put it simply, in order to avoid a full-scale nuclear conflict, we have to prove that America was not involved in that explosion.
And eliminating the boss ourselves will prove America's innocence?
Right. The higher-ups have decided that you're the only one capable of pulling this off. You were her last apprentice. Screw this one up, and we'll both be 6 feet under. There's no choice.